You're listening to the Launchcast, your favorite podcast on the planet, brought to you by Launchpad 516 Studios with me, your host, George Andriopoulos. We're talking leadership, business, life, and growth right now as the countdown starts.
It's like food for your ears.
At this time, I'm going to ask that you fasten your seatbelts.
Launch sequence.
Launch sequence activated.
Launch sequence activated.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Woo! Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Launchcast. Episode 315, back from winter hiatus. Goosebumps. You see him? We got a good one today. It's episode 315. This one's called the Junkyard Prodigy. You're going to find out why when you meet my guest in a few minutes. But we got some business to take care of first. But first, it's the LaunchDad himself, George Andriopoulos, bringing you your favorite podcast on the planet. Once again, leadership, business, life, growth, right now as the beat drops.
Into the black hole.
See my guest nodding along. What is happening, guys? We are back with another episode. Thank you for bearing with us during winter hiatus. We took a couple of months off during that cold weather because I'm not as smooth during the cold. I needed a little bit of a break. We had some business we were building here in the office. We had a lot of cool stuff going on. So let me get some of that stuff out of the way before we get to our guest today. So today, recording this thing, we have actually released and announced our rebranding of Launchpad 516, my company, the baby that makes all this stuff happen. And so there's a few important things to notice with that. Check us out on social media at Launchpad 516. The numbers 516, not spelled out. At Launchpad 516, you'll get all the updates from us. You'll notice, right, if you're watching this video, you notice my shirt here. I'm wearing my new I Am Inimitable shirt, and it's got the 4 pillars orange logo from the Launchcast logo, from the Launchpad 516 logo. The rebrand was really important to my company as we establish our mission going forward. And our mission is providing individuals and organizations with the tools and resources to thrive. And so that's much more than just the usual consulting that we have always done for years. It's called Consulting Plus. I'm going to be talking about that as the weeks go by in some ads and, of course, on the show as well. But these 4 pillars, they stand for something. They stand for our 4 pillars to success, which is community, collaboration, innovation, and people. That is what's most important in helping our clients succeed for my company and helping all the people that I help with my extracurricular activities, my nonprofit, my community stuff. And so, yeah, we've been talking about that. But what I want to talk about today is this shirt that I'm wearing. If you're not seeing me on video right now, find the video on YouTube or check out, we'll probably share some photos on the Launchcast pages. I'm wearing a shirt from the Launchpad Initiative Collection. What is that? Check out our website, launchpad516.com, and you can go to launchpad516.com/shop. Our new our new merchandise shop has opened up. We have a few collections there. We have some cool, the usual Launchpad 516 merch from the company, but who wants to wear my company's name on them with no important message, right? And so we've established this brand with the collection called the Launchpad Initiative that has important messaging that matches up to our mission, the type of motivation that we put out there, what we're trying to do. So right now I'm wearing the I Am Inimitable shirt. We have the Inimitable Definition shirt, the We Before Me shirt, the Win From Within shirt. We have a lot of cool stuff. There's shirts, shorts, joggers, workout stuff, sport bottles, all kinds of stuff. The point of this stuff is to get you guys motivated to lead in your own communities. This is great quality stuff. That was important to me as we built this little clothing brand. Great quality, stylish, and the messaging is on point. So check it out. The important thing here is that for the month of March, as we launch this thing, for the month of March, all profits from the Launchpad Initiative collection will go to the Special Olympics. I'm going to talk about that as the weeks progress. I have some involvement in the spring games that are coming here to Farmingdale, planning the Olympic Village, along with a whole bunch of other amazing people. So listen to that, but launchpad516.com/shop. That's what you need to go to. Shop our merchandise. There is actually Launchcast merchandise. Really, really cool shirts. Now thinking about this, I probably should have worn a Launchcast shirt today, but hey, we all make mistakes, right? So we're back from winter hiatus. Very excited about that. The other thing I want to talk about is Launchpad 516 Studios is rolling, man. We just last week released, finally, after a couple of months of working on it, the Spreading Happiness podcast with John Cronin and Mark Cronin. What an incredible show. Check that out. It's available on the Launchpad 516 Studios channel on Apple Podcasts, or you can just look up the Spreading Happiness podcast. Subscribe to them, leave them some reviews, some 5-star ratings. It's an incredible show with my good friends, and some other cool stuff coming out. End of the month, Discriminology premiere season 3. We have Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat, which has been out for months. Great show. Sounds Like Autism is coming soon with us. A whole bunch of stuff. So check it out. Keep up to date with Launchpad 516. All of the updates will come from there. And now, I'm going to bring my guest on. Before I bring him on, I'm going to read his bio. Now, I'm going to remind you the name of the episode, The Junkyard Prodigy. This is going to be a fun one. So, from being literally born on a junkyard, CEO Orville Davis knows the meaning and value of hard work. Although he grew up in a rigorous industry, his father taught him the importance of using your mind and not your behind. I love that. The husband and father of 2 studied computer programming and global business management. During this time, he developed the idea for scrapt-it. When the idea of scrapt-it took digital form in Orville's mind, it was validated with the achievement of first place at the Innovation Challenge held at Farmingdale State College. Orville then went further to develop that business model around scrapt-it and sought even further validation by placing first in the entire New York State at the New York State Business Plan competition held in Albany, New York. From there, he set out on a mission to recruit talented individuals in order to bring this concept to life. Orville is a rare individual, and I could attest to that firsthand because I know this guy very well. Sorry, I had to cough there because somebody burned popcorn in the office and it's in my throat. Orville is a rare individual. Not only is he a tech founder, he is founder market fit, which isn't too easy to find. A man of many talents, many tongues. Orville currently speaks 5 languages fluently: English, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and Haitian Creole. I wish I knew how to speak that. Let me bring this handsome guy on screen right here. Let's go. There he is, Orville Davis. What's happening, my friend?
Hey, Georgie, thank you for having me, man.
Of course.
And thank you for this beautiful introduction.
Of course, man, of course. All right, cool. So I want to get right to it real quick here. Let's switch over. I'm out of practice here. I'm so rusty with all my buttons here. So the first question that we ask everybody that's on this show, Orville, are you a leader?
Am I a leader? Well, normally, I don't call myself a leader, but for some reason, people tend to come to me for solutions to the problems or for guidance along the way. And somehow I ended up in this position as being the leader. Hey, well, if it's made out for me, I'm going to do it, right?
Yep, absolutely. So talk to me about that a little bit. What is your definition of a leader?
Well, my definition of a leader is one that inspires people, one that leads the charge, is that go-to person whenever something is wrong, or whenever there seems to be like problems with teammates or peers in an organization. I feel like the leader is the one who conveys the mission, conveys the vision, and keeps everybody on track. Now that I'm speaking about it, I think that kind of defines me.
So I love that. So I actually work closely with you, and I know a lot about what your company does and the leadership that you provide behind not only the mission of the company, but the vision behind it and what the team needs to bring to the table. So when you talk about leadership, I notice that there's a lot of mention of team there. And I know you came from a sort of different place of learning leadership when you were younger, which we're going to get into all that stuff. How important to you is the team when it comes to leadership?
The team is everything, because if there's no team, what are you leading, right? And just as just as important it is, to have a leader, it's just as important to have the team. So one can't exist without the other.
Right. So let's do what we do here. We always do this sort of chronological order of events here to find out these unconventional journeys to leadership. If you are listening to the Launchcast for the first time here and you found this through Orville, that's what we do. We tell stories of the journeys to leadership that are unconventional journeys, not the journeys that you would normally think. And I know Orville's story, so I do know that he had a very unconventional journey to getting here. And even once he got here, staying there has been unconventional and not easy. So let's go back to the beginning. You grew up right here on Long Island in Valley Stream, right?
Yeah. I grew up in Valley Stream since I was 3, and I think it was like maybe up until like almost 24 years old. Then I finally came out here.
Right. So I know that a huge influence, which we mentioned in your bio, getting started with this thing, a huge influence on your life was your dad and what he did for a living. So tell the audience here a little bit about the junkyard side of your youth and growing up.
So my father, he was a very dedicated entrepreneur. He had saw something in the recycling industry that many people didn't really grasp right away. And what he had saw was, hey, there's money in junk. There's money in these things that people are throwing away. And what he particularly focused on were the junk vehicles that people would get rid of or leave abandoned in their driveways and such. And my father had the foresight to say, hey, I could pick these vehicles up and I could recycle them, or I could fix them up and resell them. And from there, I believe in the 70s, he had purchased a piece of land and started buying cars left and right, whether it would be from regular individuals that lived in the neighborhood in the Queens and Brooklyn areas, or whether it was from the police auctions that the city would hold on a monthly basis. But then it turned out to where he was buying like 50 cars at a time, and well, where are you going to keep all these cars, once you buy them? And so from there, he had sought out to acquire more land, and from there he ended up finding one of the biggest properties in the Queens area, which led to him having one of the largest junkyards in the New York City area. During that time, it was a pretty rough time, especially like in the environment and then with the whole, racial issues that were going on back in like the 70s and 80s. But for some reason, he never allowed that to, phase him. He just kept pushing one foot forward and, was able to grow a successful junkyard business. And, he had put my brother, my sisters, everybody through school, even up until, when he had us, the younger siblings. And, from there, I definitely had learned a lot from my father and from the junkyard industry because, from being born on the junkyard, once you start able to walk and talk and, be able to lift things, now you got to go to work. I remember one of my first memories, I was like 3 years old, cranking off a tire with a tire iron. And, I didn't really know what I was doing. He just said, keep doing this until you're done. And, from there, that's what started my journey into the junkyard. I would work on the junkyard after school or on the weekends. Apparently, child labor laws didn't matter to him.
Talk to me about that influence for you. So I know long term and it doesn't take a genius to sort of figure out in the end here what you're actually doing for a living now was heavily influenced by your father and that legacy of that junkyard. I know that whole thing means a lot to you for a lot of different reasons. What was that influence on you when you were a kid growing up? Like, what was that feeling, that innate feeling inside of you saying to you in terms of like who Orville was going to be growing up, and how did your dad and the whole Junkyard thing influence that for you?
Well, to be honest, George, when I was young and I would go to the junkyard, it was mixed feelings because one, you're having fun, you're running around a huge lane, you're able to like run through cars, jump on cars, and smash cars if you need to. Sometimes you're operating machinery, and it was fun. However, it was hard, and sometimes you didn't want to work. Sometimes it was too cold. Sometimes it was too hot. But it didn't matter because you still had to get your work done, and that was one of the things that kind of gave me the mixed feelings because it's like regardless of the the conditions, you still had to get it done, and one of the things that really didn't sit well with me was that for some reason, man, like I just didn't like getting dirty, because it's like, okay, you get dirty, cool, all right, but then when you go to wash it off, it's like you got to wash it like 5 or 10 times, and then then you go into school and then you smelling like grease, and like, yo, who are you, a mechanic? Get this guy out of here.
So in essence, that journey, kind of getting to where you are today, I think a lot of, and this is also based on what I know about you, but a lot has had to do with sort of reconciling all that later on in life, rather than knowing, like, you didn't grow up as a kid going like, I'm going to own a junkyard, I'm going to do waste removal, I'm going to do junk removal, like none of that.
Not at all. Not at all. I always thought that I was going to, either be an inventor or work in a corporate office or, wear a suit and tie. For some reason, I don't know, I thought that that's what, being professional and being a grown-up was. I didn't know the importance of what the junkyard was. I didn't know that, hey, like, this was a big successful business. I thought that this was just work like anybody else does, and
yeah. So coming up until you got to the time where you started college and all that, how was school for you? Good student, bad student?
In between, I would get good grades, but I would always get suspended.
There you go. Okay. And we've talked about this before. So, what's funny about that, and the first kind of thing that I'll point out is, again, we have a wide range of people that listen to this show, from entrepreneurs to students to people that are established and just working in their careers. I love pointing out to young people, and you get this because I've even done school after school, right? Like I graduated from college in 2002, and then I've done schooling since then, working towards an MBA that I didn't actually have time to finish, but I will get to one day. It becomes easier, right? Isn't that like with maturity and stuff?
Oh, yeah.
It's that thing of like, I know even with my daughter, I deal with it, who's 13 and, going to be 14 in a couple of months. And, we talk about college, and a couple of years ago, she had no intention of doing college, right? Which, isn't a thing, but she doesn't know that yet. But she would claim that being a bad student was why. And I try to explain to her, like, when you get to that maturity level, which, by the way, she's getting to now. Like, this kid's on honor roll. Like, the kid that had so many problems. She's starting 9th grade next year. We just did her high school schedule. I'm so impressed. She's in all honors classes. To me, it's like, it's amazing to see that growth. But to try to explain to her what she's going through now, what she will go through, like, once you get to college, once you have that maturity level, it kind of becomes easy. The school, the education is not about going to school anymore. It's about acquiring those skills, which was huge for you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect case point. When I first went to college right after high school, I was a terrible student. I was getting C's. I was not showing up to class. I kept, just blowing it off and just not taking it serious. But when I went back to school the second time around, years later, it was a whole completely different mindset. Where I was sitting in the class changed. I used to sit in the back, just slack off and do whatever. This time around, I'm sitting in the front. I don't have time to make friends with any of the kids in this class. The only friend I want to make is that professor.
Yep, exactly.
And yeah, it was a completely, 180 game changer. I went from, thinking that, oh man, I this is annoying. I got to go to class, I got to go to school or whatever, to, oh wait, I can't wait to go because, I actually like what I'm learning.
Yeah.
And, when you mix that passion with it, I mean, it just changes everything and your whole perception of how you're taking in information.
And that's a lesson that students out there should take, that not only does it come with a certain maturity level, like you were ready to get down to business, and we'll get to that point in your life in a couple of minutes, but you were ready to get down to business for a number of reasons. But also, one thing I know about you is you know what you want to do. You know when you went to school, like, this is how I was going to use this schooling. And so you knew that major for you was exactly what you needed. And so if you're still in college and you're at the point where you should be more mature, but you're still fucking up in class, you're still getting C's, you're still skipping class, it probably means that you're studying something that you have no interest in, and you should look at that before it's too late. You know what I mean? It took me 10 years after I graduated from college before I realized that maybe pharmacy is not for me. Maybe I'm a business guy. You know what I mean? And so, something that students should look at. But when we talk about college with you, so you graduated high school. You started at Nassau Community College for a little bit as you were getting your bearings. But within the first year, your dad got sick and you had to drop out to work and support the family. What was that time like for you?
Well, that time was very traumatic, honestly. But I didn't realize how traumatic it was. I knew that, things were not going to be the same for a while. I knew that, my family members, my brother, my mother, my sister, they didn't have the, I guess, the durability to withstand that emotional stress, of knowing that, our main provider, our leader, our father, is incapacitated and unable to be, in communication with. And, for me, it was like, all right, dad is in the hospital. It's best to do what I know best. And what my father had told me was, hey, man, get to work. Yeah. And, I just visualized him in my head, and I just threw my boots on, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I just knew that I had to show up to the junkyard. Yep. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know where he left off. All I knew was like, hey, just get to the junkyard and figure it out.
Right.
And, I spent months, combing through the junkyard, trying to pick up the pieces, putting puzzles together, going through paperwork, trying to, figure out what the plan was, and, what is it that he wanted to do? Because, he was in a coma, so, our thoughts were, okay, he's going to get out of it. He's going to be better. Let me just get things going for him until he gets out of this, and then, it'll be right there.
Right.
When he just could jump right into right where he left off.
Right.
And during that time, it was like a lot of turmoil was going on because, you have family members blaming each other, for what's going on. And then obviously, when a main provider is incapacitated, you go on undergoing financial stress, so that is also bringing up a lot of arguments, between everybody. And, you're just seeing, people that you love and how you remember them just change in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And, that led to, me just having to work countless hours just to, be able to keep the lights on at the house, to keep the house from going into foreclosure. It's just a lot of situations that, a normal 19-year-old wouldn't have to go through. I had to kind of just take it on and just take it for the team. If not me, who else?
Yeah. And I had in my notes here that while you were in school, you studied extensively in school while helping your father run the business, whether it was your choice or just a sense of duty at that point because he was sick. And then, unfortunately, your father passed away. And I know that you have noted before that you were severely distraught after this and you left the industry altogether. What was the thought process behind that?
So, when my father had passed away, that really struck home for me because, when he originally fell into the coma, I had to keep going. I wasn't able to express, what I was going through. I wasn't able to sit down and and cry. I wasn't able to really acknowledge like what was going on. I didn't have time to.
Yeah.
I had to just get down and get busy. And when things finally came to an end, when my father had passed away and the family wanted to split up everything, I kind of saw it as a way to kind of recuperate, to alleviate myself of the pain that I was going through. But for some reason, it doesn't work as simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, you take the time off, you try to separate yourself from all the things that would remind you of, of the junkyard of your father and everything. And I tried to escape it. I moved further out east, that was around the same time when I met Cynthia. And, I tried to just take my mind off of things. I went working for like other companies, and even though I didn't want to, that was like actually a big thing for me, because while I was running my dad's junkyard for 2 years, when he was sick, I developed this sense of like, hey, I like what I'm doing. I like, running things. I like, not having someone that's controlling me. And I always kept that in the back of my mind. But then when I had to go and work for other companies, I had to suck it all up, man. And it's like, damn, I got to take shit from this person. And, nobody ever really wants to do that, right? But, you just do what you got to do.
What was the goal? Like, was there a goal in that moment? Because so this is something that we always point out in the show. There's certain tenets of leadership for me. I don't even want to say tenets, certain parts of the process, the journey of leadership, that are so important when you get introspective and you discover what this leadership is about. Leadership isn't about like in that moment you just figure it out and you know all your shit. No, it's about kind of looking back on the journey, how it built you, what it built you into, what's important to you, what's not important to you anymore, and sort of being introspective enough to take inventory of all that and sort of decide like, this is who I am, this is who I want to be, this is what I want to accomplish. And those moments in life that sort of steered you in these directions, we call them spark moments on the show. Spark moments are any point in your life that led you down a path, whether that path was good, bad, or indifferent. It led you down a path. And this moment for you, the loss of your dad and all the trauma that went with it, was a spark moment that led you down a path away from this business.
Yeah.
So in that moment, was there a goal, like for what the rest of Orville's life would look like, or was this just you going like, I need to get away from this for a little while?
So when when I decided to walk away, I always had said to myself, all right, I'm gonna work somewhere for a little, make back some money, and then I'm just gonna do my own thing and start my own junkyard again.
Yep.
And used car dealership. And you keep this idea in your mind, and then as time goes on, it starts to slowly wither away. I don't know if you ever seen that movie, You Don't Mess with the Zohan.
Yeah, of course I do.
And you remember like the electronics
Fizzy
store?
Bubbly.
Fizzy Bubbly, right? And you remember in the electronics store, like they're talking about how they all had dreams, and but then they went to the store and then they slowly started going away.
Sucked the life out of them. Yeah, I get it.
So I started to undergo that, and then I didn't realize it, but I was undergoing a lot of depression during that time because I thought that I was healing. I thought that I was taking time away from acknowledging the fact that my father had passed, and I really, it was like I was running away from the fact that, hey, listen, this is reality. I just kept thinking that the stuff that happened with my father and my family was just like a bad dream, and as long as I just keep moving forward, I don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
But when you don't address it and you allow it to build up, it festers, and it slowly builds up on you. But when that happens, you have to wait for. Well, you don't have to wait, but you have to try to find a way to kind of like shake that up and get rid of that.
Right.
I mean, you have to remove it or else it will just destroy you from within. And I started to realize that, and you know, I would find myself like years later, I'm talking like 8-9 years later, like, you know, just sitting in my car, just crying for no reason. And I'm like, I'm not even sad. I don't even know what the hell's going on. But it's like your body's trying to release it. Yeah. You know, and you know, that was kind of the mindset that I was in at the time. So like the goal was that, okay, I was going to start something, you know, when after maybe a year of work, but that never happened. And I just continuously kept working for like almost like 7 years, you know, with a company that took a chance with me. But, you know, as grateful I was with them, but that wasn't where I needed to be, you know? And, you know, I'm glad that there was, you know, another spark that brought me back into entrepreneurship and then eventually led me down scrapt-it.
Yeah, and that's what I want to talk about. So it seems like there was still a goal of coming back to it, but I think there was that thing where your body just told you like you need to, or your mind told you that you need to find yourself a little bit. You need to maybe even like you need to know who you are in this industry without your dad. Yeah. Like your identity within the junk industry, quote unquote, was always tied to your dad. Yeah. But in reality now, maybe that's just part of your legacy and you built your own. I know you built your own thing now, which is because it's so innovative and different than anything I've seen before. So yeah, you talk about the next spark moment in your life. You know, you were working, you were trying to go to school part-time, a couple of credits here and there, bare minimum for the next few years. I think that based on all we've talked about, that you knew education was always important to you, right? Always. So, which is huge for somebody to be grounded enough to know that part of the framework of what you have to build has to be built on education. I will take this opportunity to say I can't stand when people throw it away as a given. Like if you're not one for school, that's fine. That is absolutely fine. If you, whether it's you're not built for it or you don't have the means for it in the moment, whatever, that's totally fine. I can't stand when people like Gary Vee go on and like tell people literally to like leave school. It bothers the shit out of me because to have that opportunity, it's never going to hurt you as long as you're smart enough to know that school's not the end all be all. Like we are both businessmen and we both know that what we learn on the street in certain instances is much more important than what we learn in school. But what we learn in school helps us get through the stuff that we learn on the street. You know what I mean? So that's huge, and I applaud you for that.
We'll be right back after these quick words.
This is John
and Mark Cronin from
John's Crazy Socks.
And we're interrupting to say we hope you're enjoying this episode, but please make sure to check out our show, the Spreading Happiness Podcast, another great show produced by Launchpad 516 Studios. New episodes are available every week on all your favorite podcast platforms. Join us on our new podcast as we continue our mission, spreading happiness.
Thank you, folks.
Fabrizio, you know what? Since we just announced the rebranding of Launchpad 516, let's talk about the merchandise shop and all the great stuff going on there.
Okay.
All right, so you know what? Give me something soft. Give me something catchy, something with a good beat.
I got it.
All right. Yeah. This is good. Man, you are good at this, buddy. You're getting better, at least, because you used to suck at it. Hey, everybody. This is George Andriopoulos, the CEO of Launchpad 516. A management consulting firm based out of New York, Consulting Plus. We are revolutionizing the consulting game, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. Now, we just launched our brand new website. We announced our rebranding today as I record this on March 4th, and we have a merchandise shop on our site. Launchpad516.com/shop is our incredible new merchandise shop. We have launched a clothing brand. Now, you're asking yourself, why would I wear clothing with your company's name on it? No. That's not what this is about. This is about the messaging. The Launchpad initiative the first collection out of the Launchpad 516 brand is all about the positive messaging. If you're watching me on video right now, you see the I Am Inimitable t-shirt. We have the Inimitable Definition shirt. We have the We Before Me shirt, the Win From Within shirt, and more than shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, fleeces, shorts, joggers, tank tops, workout stuff, everything. Amazing quality, because that was so important to me, but the messaging is even more amazing and important. We are here to give individuals and organizations the tools and resources to thrive and succeed, and we are doing the same thing with messaging on our clothing. Now, here's the cool part. Visit launchpad516.com/shop, purchase anything in the month of March, and guess what? All profits go to the Special Olympics. This is huge. We want to launch this thing with a bang. We want people wearing our brand, and more importantly, we want them to learn how to be leaders through our messaging. So visit launchpad516.com/shop, purchase stuff, help the Special Olympics, help spread leadership. Thank you, as always, for supporting. I'll see you next time, guys. And then you met Cynthia, who later became your wife, and she motivated you to basically get your shit together, you know,
Pretty much.
to go to school and to do the damn thing and see what happens, right?
Yeah, because, you know, we actually had class together, and, you know, she had noticed, like, the credits that I was taking, and she was like, well, why are you still here? Like, why don't you just hurry up and graduate? Like, come on, let's go. And then it's like, wait, who are you to tell me what I need to do? Like, come on, like, I'm doing my own thing. But I don't know if you ever met Cynthia. You know Cynthia, George.
Yeah,
it's hard to tell her no.
So that was a big spark moment for you, meeting her, and then her motivating you to kind of fulfill the potential that you always had. Maybe she saw in you that you didn't see in you. And so you guys actually graduated Nassau Community College together. You decided to go for international business at Farmingdale State College. You were going between Baruch and Farmingdale State, and eventually chose Farmingdale State College. Shortly after, Cynthia followed you to Farmingdale State College as well for her schooling. And after doing some soul searching, you decided that it was kind of time to return to your roots, but from a new angle. So talk to me for a little bit about Dr. Betty Fang and her influence on your life and career and all that happened with you.
Yeah, man. You know, Dr. Betty Fang, one of my longtime friends, but she was actually my former professor and my current advisor right now at Scrap-it. However, before she was my professor, I had met her through another individual by the name of Ed Moore, and I had met him at one of the Farmingdale State College extracurricular functions or seminars, and it was really him that sparked that flame of entrepreneurship, and had inspired me to to really dig deep into what my father had taught me and what my other mentors had taught me about entrepreneurship. And then through him, he would always try to push me into these entrepreneur stuff. And this gentleman, Ed Moore, Farmingdale native, but a senior citizen. He wasn't a student. He was just someone that just wanted to inspire people. And and then he had introduced me to Dr. Betty Fang through one of these business competitions, because he had found out about it, and he was like, hey, Orville, I think this would be a good idea. Why don't you check this out? He introduced me to Dr. Betty Fang, and she was acceptable of the idea. However, when I had pitched the original business idea to her, they weren't really too fond of it. It was a completely different idea, completely different business. However, that formed the bond between Dr. Fang and I. And then actually a year later, we had ran into each other, and she was like, hey, Orville, we have this innovation challenge going on. I really think that you'd be a proper fit for it. And at the time I was like, Dr. Fang, I'm taking care of a lot of stuff right now. I'm working, at the time we had an adopted son, and our plate was full. But my wife was like, hey, Orville, I think this would be a good idea. I think you should just give it a shot, And I was like, all right, well, fine. Let's see what this has to offer.
Right.
So I signed up for it. They paired a bunch of students from different disciplines together, and what I thought was going to be like a 1 or 2 hour, workshop ended up being like an all day workshop. And Cynthia was, so nice enough to join me, where even though she was like working overtime and during the nights,
Right.
she still showed up in the morning at 9 o'clock and was like, hey, I'm going to stay with you. And ironically, one of the teammates didn't show up, and because Cynthia was a student at Farmingdale, she was able to fill the spot. So then it was me and her and then a bunch of other students, and that's where we came up with the idea for Scrap-it.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So I'm going to fast forward a little bit because you've had a lot of stuff that has happened since then. But in essence, that was really the basis of coming up with this idea for Scrap-it. And really, although you sort of conceptualized this whole thing, I think based on what I know about the company, the fact that this was like an innovation challenge, you had to kind of force yourself to put more than just a junkyard or junk removal into it. It had to be technology based. It had to be, and so it was that thing that sort of, it actually forced you to disrupt the idea of what this industry was that you came from. And in that moment, you really became that innovator, that inventor that you always kind of aspired to be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, so to fast forward a little bit, you got first place in that. You won a bunch of stuff when you were in school related to Scrap-it. You completed your BS in Global Business Management. You got a BS in Computer Programming and Information Systems at Farmingdale. You wound up getting your MBA in Innovation. Surprise, surprise, from Stony Brook University, prestigious state college. In between there is when you and I met, actually. So you guys know that I'm the executive producer of TEDx Farmingdale. Orville was actually one of the speakers at our inaugural event. He gave his first TEDx talk called Methods to Reduce Climate Change and Eliminate Waste. And from the moment that you applied, I loved the idea of this talk. And, in sitting, collaborating with you on the idea, there was a lot that came to this talk in terms of like talking about how you came from a junkyard and where your roots were, but how you wanted to sort of reinvent the game and change it. And at the same time, a mission to eliminate waste globally, which will affect climate change. I mean, I was thoroughly impressed by you at the time, man. It was very cool to kind of see somebody with enough foresight to take this idea. And that to me is what TED is, right? TED thinks they're one thing, but in my opinion of them is that you should be able to take an idea and build on it. We just did this year, and it's really inspired by past talks that we've had. The theme for last year's event was origins and evolution.
Right.
So the whole theme was based on taking an idea that was one thing and the thought of like, can this evolve into something else, or does it have to be stuck in that way? And so you took this idea of junk removal, waste removal, cleanup, and you sort of reinvented. So I was thoroughly impressed by that whole thing. Now, being the business guy, right, at heart, I come up with a lot of ideas, and they don't all necessarily work out. How did Scrap-it go from an idea to win a competition to becoming a viable business?
Well, how it started as an idea was, first you have to write it down.
Yeah.
The idea came to me in 2018, around the same time I had mentioned that I had met my friend Ed Moore. However, when ideas come, write it down, save it somewhere, just jot it down, because you never know when you're going to have to use it. Luckily, when I was in the Innovation Challenge, I was like, I think I might have an idea for this. And that's when I went into my notes app and I said, okay, what do you guys think about this idea? A digital junkyard or something like that. They were like, what? We love that. Like, all right, let's figure out how to make a business plan out of this, and let's get some designs. Let's get a catchy name. Let's figure out a logo, something. Let's put it together. And So really, like, what I feel that, how you take something from idea to creation is that, one, write it down, and then two, you have to share it with people. A lot of times people hold on to their ideas and they hold it in a vault and are afraid to speak about it because, they're obviously afraid that, someone's going to steal it or run with it and stuff. And, that's fair. However, ideas come to everyone, and 9 out of 10 times the idea that you have, somebody else has. And what's the difference between it is the execution, right? And so it's like you have to, write down the idea, create a plan of action, share it with people, inspire people that to the fact that, okay, if they like the idea, they may want to join you with this idea,
right?
And, help bring it to life. And it's like, a lot of times we think, okay, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. Yeah, possibly. But if you just hold on to the idea, stay true to it, share it with who you feel that, could provide value to it, they will help you pick up the slack, and they will help you push it forward and take it to the next stage. And it's all about just taking that idea and just moving along the line and move it along, the 10-yard line. Keep going until you get into the end zone. And I feel like, that's in a simple way of how you bring something from idea to creation. But I mean, in a nutshell, that's kind of how it was for me.
Yeah, and I hear a lot of what you described in the beginning when we talked about the definition of leadership. A lot of team there, a lot of team, which me, man, I love that collaboration. For those that don't know, actually, Scrap-it operates out of my office here. They use some incubator space in the office, and it was very cool having like this new, young, innovative company come in and having these conversations. And I work with Orville on a certain. On some of his projects and stuff like that, and it was just very exciting to get that team vibe back in the office again, especially after opening up again after the pandemic, the office being shut down after 18 months, and it's different, guys. It's the new way of thinking of things. And there were components to the company, right? So what I love about Scrap-it Technologies is that it's a multifaceted company. It has its eyes on today with junk removal, but it has its eyes on tomorrow with technology. So tell the people briefly the 1 or 2 sentence version of what the junk removal Scrap-it junk removal services does.
All right. So, we all know spring is here. And so, what does that mean? Well, we got to get rid of stuff. We got to open up that closet. We got to open up that garage. We got to clear out that attic because, hey, we got to get rid of this old stuff so we could put more new stuff there. But the thing is that when we go to, open these places, open these crevices, we're like, shoot, man, do I got to do all this work myself? I don't even know where to put this. I don't want to pay for storage. I don't want to spend the time of me sweating and cleaning up all these things. And I don't even know where to bring them. And what do I do? Well, that's where we come in. Our team at Scrap-it, we come with professional haulers, with our trucks, and with our teams, and we effectively remove these items and find proper places for these items to go. We have a network of donation centers that we work with, like AmVets down the road here on Sunrise. We have thrift stores that are local that we work with, and then so that is typically how we service people on the junk removal side of things. Now, on the technology side of things is that, all right, well, we know that this is the case and, this is what people need, but, we can only cover but so much areas here on Long Island and in New York. Well, how do we make this something that more people can access, and how do we measure what is being donated and what is being thrown out? Well, that is where technology comes in. Right.
Yeah.
So through our platforms that we've been creating, we're able to connect people that have this need of getting rid of items, or for whatever reason it may be, and connecting them with local eco-friendly junk haulers that are able to pick these things up on demand and properly recycle these. Whether it be that they're bringing it to a donation center, whether they're bringing it to a waste to energy facility, or whether they're bringing it to a transfer station. But the idea of the technology is to make it more scalable so that, we're able to reduce the amount of items that are in the landfills. because hey, look, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it, right?
Yep. So, and that's such a smart way of looking at things for those of you out there that aren't too familiar with how technology integrates with innovation as of late, as of the last couple of years. Data is probably one of the most important things. Collecting data while you're working provides you with, first of all, a revenue stream in and of itself, because that data is so valuable.
More than oil.
So valuable. More than oil, right? But it also provides a pathway to innovating in the future, to sustaining your business in the future. So it's so important to think about things in this innovative way. I love having these kind of conversations, bro, because I don't very often get to talk straight up business with my guests here. A lot of times it's, life experiences only and yada yada. So I love talking shop with you on this stuff. But in essence, this company, should everything go right, has set itself up for an incredible future. And I'm so excited to not only be part of it, but to watch you succeed and grow. It's my mission as a business owner is to help give people those tools to succeed and thrive. So it's a pleasure watching you grow in this way, and a pleasure seeing somebody who just created this shit for themselves. You know what I mean? Like that to me is very exciting and very cool.
I love how it came full circle too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That doesn't often happen. It doesn't often happen, and that means that goes to show you that there's purpose in these experiences that we go through in life, right? Okay, so I read a quote on your LinkedIn that said, "What I love about Scrap-it is that I can merge what I love, technology, along with my father's legacy, junk, and we get to make a difference in the world at the same time." And that's basically that full circle moment that you just talked about. So that's incredible. I was going to talk to you about what pushed you to continue your schooling throughout this process, but I don't think I need to ask you that, because it's kind of self-evident that you wanted to give yourself as many tools as you could to succeed in what you're doing.
And let's not forget about Cynthia.
Of course, yes. Yeah, and she made you do
Cracking the whip.
She cracked the whip, made you do it, which I love that about her. What's the end goal for Scrap-it?
End goal for Scrap-it?
If there is one.
I actually do have an end goal, and it reminds me of the Avengers, especially especially with the intro trailer to our TEDx.
To TED, yep.
But honestly, it's I know that there's big talks about interplanetary travel, and I know that there's an immense amount of debris that exists within our atmosphere, within in Earth's orbit, and I see that not a lot of people are thinking about this. Not a lot of people are talking about solutions for this. But I do see that there is going to be a need to clear out these items, especially if you're going to have interplanetary travel. That's going to be going back and forth. I see it that we're going to be doing a lot of business. Ships are going to be sending a lot of rocket ships are going to be sending a lot of cargo back and forth. Well, how are they going to do that safely if there's going to be a high amount of traffic? Well, you have to create roads. We have to create avenues. I mean, we don't have to think about that for airplanes because there's nothing too much in the sky, but there's a bunch of debris out there in the space. So, what would be a nice end goal is, to be able to remove space junk.
And he's not bullshitting, folks. I can attest to the fact that I have had a strategy meeting. Launchpad 516 and Scrap-it Technologies has had a strategy meeting where Orville and I discussed pitching this to SpaceX to go out there and remove junk from space. This actually, I can now die putting that on my tombstone that I had that conversation for real with somebody. So he's not bullshitting about that. I want to shift for a second before we wrap up and get to the big three. We talked about marriage. I mentioned in the bio that you're a husband and a father of two, Kingston and Princeton. Great names.
Thank you.
How do you want... Now, I know for you that your father and his journey had a huge influence, good, bad, or indifferent, in a lot of ways on your life and both personally and professionally. How do you want your journey to influence the future of your two sons?
You know, I haven't really thought too much about the journey on how I wanted it to influence my children. I always thought of it as, how I wanted to influence my children was through me actually being there for them, me actually, being at their games, being at their, school meetings, really spending time and just, teaching them the knowledge that I know directly, like just as they have time for school, they would have time for school with me. And I never really thought of the, the business or the organization as being, what would influence them. But, now that I look back in hindsight and, seeing everything that I'm doing, it's like, well, I think this does play a big role in the, I'm back in Junk. I'm here following my father's legacy.
Yep.
So it would be very cool for, my children to, take up the mantle and carry this on. But I do understand and know from, my own personal experience that may not be the path that they may want to take. So what I do hope for this, through my journey, the impression that lasts on my children is that, hey, they could say that they saw their father, build something from nothing, and that anything is possible, that regardless of whatever obstacles may be in someone's way or may be in their way, there's always a solution for it. There's always a way around it, and the only misconception is that things are impossible.
Yep. I love that. So the last thing I was going to ask you, which you kind of answered this, how strong is the connection to leadership with fatherhood and husbandhood, right? Like, how strong is that connection in terms of not only the easy answer is to say that I'm the leader of this family and I lead these people. That's easy. That's a given. How do those two jobs, being a father and being a husband, help you be a leader outside of your home? What's that connection for you?
I feel that me being a leader in my professional career definitely inspired me to take some tips from that to bring into my family. However, I would think that, okay, first you're the biggest leader in your organization, and then, then your kids, and then your marriage. But I had it upside down and backwards. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, you have to focus on your marriage, then your kids, then the business, the organization. So I would say that, the relationship from fatherhood to leadership, I mean, it's symbiotic. One can't exist without the other. And if you think that you're a leader in your organization and you're not a leader at home, then you're sadly mistaken, because
right.
you're building on poor foundation, right? And something that grows on poor foundation is just bound to collapse eventually, yep. Right? So, I feel that it's a trinity, right? Like you have to make sure that if you're a leader in all three phases. Don't just be a leader in one. If you're not a leader, then that's perfectly fine. But know how to fit in within your circles. But if you're gonna say, "Hey, I'm a leader," make sure all those foundations are in place.
Yeah, I love that. And you and I have had that conversation too about if you're not a leader, it's okay. As an owner of a company, you and I both know that we have to kind of accept that sometimes somebody just wants to come to work and do their job, and they don't necessarily want to lead. Now, bringing out the best of them, the best in them, that's our job as leaders to do, but they don't necessarily have to be leaders on their own. And kind of accepting that makes life a little bit easier sometimes in terms of your expectations on the job with your employees and stuff. So, all right, amazing stuff. So let's move on to the big three. The big three.
The big three from the Launchcast.
The big three is, I'm going to give you some stuff. I'm going to rattle off some stuff. You're going to give me your top three for each item. Quick, concise answers.
Right.
All right. We ready?
Let's do it.
All right. 3 favorite items that you picked from the junkyard as a kid.
Ooh. All right. A Nintendo 64 game. It was like the duck hunting game. That was one. Two, my shaver. When I just went into puberty, my dad found a shaver.
Gross.
But no, it was brand new though. It was brand new in the box, I promise you.
I'm ending this interview right now. I'm gonna go wash my hands. No,
right.
Go ahead.
And the third one, man. Third best item that I picked. It had to be all those coins that I find under the seats.
There you go. All right. Okay. 3 biggest successes outside of your family.
3 biggest successes outside of my family. Well, scrapt-it. My education, with, achieving an MBA, it took me a while, but I never thought I was going to, at one point I thought I wasn't going to pursue it, but I'm glad that I was able to achieve that and have that to show for the children as well. And then, the third success outside of scrapt-it, I would have to say, my community of, followers and fans, that, support me constantly and encourage me constantly. Even though like scrapt-it has its employees, the scrapt-it family is much bigger than that. And, there's tons of people that, play a pivotal role like in my life and, with my mindset, making sure that I'm operating efficient. I'm in the right state of mind and that things are just flowing well, whether they're seen or unseen. The mere fact that, I was able to grow something and impact other people's lives where they are able to reciprocate back.
Yep.
I think that's like one of the hugest success.
Love that. Okay. 3 favorite things about fatherhood.
3 favorite things about fatherhood, huh? Change the diapers, right? Yeah.
I don't mind it. I never minded it because those moments were some memorable times, sometimes for gross reasons, but no, memorable times because I'm always performing when I'm changing the diaper because you got to keep them distracted, right?
Yeah.
So I got some of the best laughs ever from my kids out of that.
Yeah, man. No, so like some of my favorite times as being a father is, rolling around with them on the floor when they're like trying to crawl,
Yep.
Helping them walk and I haven't done this yet, but when they are able to start playing sports, being able to practice.
Looking forward to
them.
that. Yeah. His boys are still very young, so
Princeton just started walking today.
Just started walking. All right. Yeah, you're very early in fatherhood, but this is. Oh man, you got some good times coming up.
Well, I'm gonna look for you for some advice.
Oh, absolutely, man. And I'm doing it all over again now, so with the little one. So, all right, last one. We talked about for scrapt-it, which was great that you mentioned. I actually thought you were going to mention that here, but you could repeat it. 3 impossible goals.
3 impossible goals.
And I'll say, in general, it doesn't have to be scrapt-it related.
3 impossible goals. I would say, to reform the industry as far as what is it called with incarceration. I would feel that there are better programs and better ways to bring people out of situations or properly rehabilitate people. And what may seem like an impossible goal is that we would reach a time where jail is not really needed to discipline people. That maybe there's other ways to rehabilitate people that were abused by society.
Right.
Another impossible goal, to make vegan food that tastes almost exactly like steak.
They're getting there.
That's one of the biggest things that I miss. I used to be an avid meat eater. Now I'm a vegetarian, or quasi-vegetarian. But one of the things I miss is those Brazilian steakhouses, man. Those rodizzios, and if they could make a vegetarian version of that, man, hey, I'm in a happy world. Probably died and went to heaven. But and the last impossible goal, to be able to teleport.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. That'll do it. All right, good. I'm going to tear this up, which means we did it. We killed it. Orville, thank you, my friend, for being here. This was great. I love having these leadership conversations, especially when they are business centric. It gets me going, bro. And especially, it is a great way to come back from winter hiatus. So I appreciate you.
Of course.
Thank you, my friend. All right. Check Orville out. You can find him on LinkedIn. I'll put everything in the show notes. Check out Scrap-it Technology, Scrap-it Junk Removal. They got some amazing stuff going on. They just finished putting together a couple of incredible teams. So those trucks are out of this office every single day removing junk. I have used these guys. Specifically, I've had a crazy couple of months. I'll tell you guys about it as the episodes go by, but a lot of construction that's been going on that I've been doing for my mother-in-law, and I use these guys' services. It was incredible. It saved me so much time, and energy that I just did not have the bandwidth for. So scrapt-it.io is the website. New website should be out around the time, maybe a few days after this episode comes out anyway. So check them out. Everything's going to be in the show notes. So I appreciate you, Orville. I'm going to put you back in the green room for a sec while I close it out.
Love you, George.
All right, love you, buddy. Yep. All right. There we go. Another one, as my friend DJ Khaled says, another one. We got another one in the books here. Every week we are back. We have a ton of interviews being recorded this week, so I'm so excited about what's to come. Check out all the old episodes to catch up if you have not been an avid listener of the Launchcast, the best damn podcast on the planet. And make sure to check out the Launchpad 516 Studios channel on Apple Podcasts or any of your podcast platforms, and see some of the other podcasts that we produce. Incredible content coming. I just had a meeting yesterday with somebody that's going to be doing a show with us that's starting this month. That's going to be conversations around music albums and how they change your life. And every episode is going to be a new album. Like, oh my God, I'm so excited for this stuff. This stuff gets me going. Guys, thank you again. We'll see you next time.
Launch sequence terminated.
Into the black hole. Into the black hole.
The Launchcast is brought to you by Launchpad 516 Studios, produced by Fabrizio Fugazi and executive produced by George Andriopoulos. Marketing and PR by Media Convergence. Theme song by Tommy Lungberg. Music and sound effects are licensed through Epidemic Sound. The Launchcast is hosted with Podbean. Make sure to subscribe to this feed wherever podcasts are available and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts while you're at it, guys. You can find the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Pandora, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Podbean, and everywhere else that podcasts are available. Follow me, George Andriopoulos, the host, at Launchpad CEO on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or follow the show at The Launchcast Show on Facebook and Instagram, or at Launchcast Show on Twitter. Visit our website, thelaunchcast.com, and make sure to follow all the great podcasts produced by Launchpad 516 Studios. We'll see you next time, guys.